Hello, everybody. Welcome back to OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. I'm your host, Joe Brown, joined by my co-host, Sierra Dawn. And Sierra, it's another wonderful week of VGC. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just came from playing Lethal Company, not VGC. Don't tell my bosses. But, it was a weekend full of VGC. It'll be a lot more weekends full of VGC. So, great time.
Yeah, exactly. And we have, the you played enough VGC over the weekend. Time to relax a little bit. I was actually playing VGC on stream earlier prior to recording, having a little fun with my old buddy Armor Rouge. But I think overall this format, we've had Baltimore, we have an upcoming European regional as well. We have Louisville and Sacramento are also in this format. So there's LAIC is in Regulation H. I think I feel a little more content with this format now than I was a couple weeks ago. I'm more happy with it than I was before, Sierra.
Maybe it's because I've spectated more than I've played it, but I'm very happy with this format on a spectating angle. I think it's constantly amusing. Playing the GC best of one, I don't know how much I can take stock with that, but I did enjoy my time with it. I do need to hit best of three ladder again and finally just kind of start doing the best of three games, having to seriously look through an open team sheet and all of that to really gauge how I feel about the format. But from how I've been having the format so far with the spectating and the GC, I have been enjoying it. So
yeah, and later on in this episode, we are going to have a special interview with our Baltimore regional champion, Nicholas Morales, but that's a little bit after. That's going to be coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. One of the things I think we have guests actually right now, Sierra, because there's some cats in the background of your shots, and usually it's just me and you, but we have guests in the shot. What are they up to?
So as you can see, this one. Let's see how much the camera can go before I break it. We're doing this live, friends.
Oh God!
And if you only Spotify, I'm sorry. I gotta get out of it.
Sierra is zooming in.
This
I don't
one?
know where she's zooming very far. There's a cat sitting. Was it a black cat, gray cat? I can't tell the
black cat
color.
He's
it's
sleeping.
A black cat sleeping, sitting on
and
top
then,
of a thing.
Shocker. The other cat.
There's a chair. There's a gamer chair. There's an epic gamer cat in a gamer chair,
and he's also sleeping.
That is what cats are good at.
They are good at. This one is also good at being a bad cat. So
okay.
I placed an Uber Eats order earlier. It's just some Wednesday nights that are just a little lazy. I'm trying to play games, not cook myself a meal. So order Uber, and I think there might have been a cat that was milling around outside, because when I first opened the door, because I thought the Uber driver was there, he wasn't there, but I thought I heard a meow. And then I was gaslighting myself a little bit, it was one of my cats, surely. But Leon, the orange cat, was super acting up near the door. Pretty sure I heard a meow outside. Then I opened the door a minute later, and the Uber driver's there. Awesome, whatever. Chatting with him for a second. Leon bolts out the door. Normally, he always mills around the door looking for another, an opportunity, but I grabbed him and I put him up the stairs, so, he couldn't do that. And then he came down, bolted out the door. Tell me why it's the one time where an Uber driver that's super scared of animals is the one ordering. So this guy jumps a foot in the air, way back at this cat running out the door. Not at him either. The cat, ran out and swerved him, and he's huh? And does this big jump. Just for the cat to make it to the fence, then just okay,
I was gonna ask,
bring him back in.
Where does he go?
First time he's ever made it out. I've lived here for a while, and it's the first time he's actually managed to get outside. But of course it's a nice big panic, because the next door neighbors have big dogs that are kind of mean. Every time I go in my driveway, they bark at me angrily and try and bust through the fence. I was worried that he was gonna try and get over through that fence, because there's a huge hole there. So I run it instantly, him to the ground, and then pick him up, because I would have been down a cat if he had made it there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. Now he's sleeping. Stupid
Well, yeah,
cats.
he had a long day. He got,
He had a
ran
big
away
day.
from home.
Yeah, he got outside. Made it a whole
That's
2 feet.
that's what I never get with animals, because like my old dog back in the day, she would always, there's like that meme. It's like a dog that has perfect loving care and 3 meals a day and sleeps 16 hours a day. The millisecond a door is open and they just always just run. It's like where's it going to be better for you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these animals don't think, they start to run and they don't realize, where am I going to end up?
At least it's like with my grandparents' old dog. They ended up having to move to apartment. They couldn't have pets, so then this Cocker Spaniel went to my mom and dad's. At least like the dog, when it got out, it was committed. Those weren't its like original owners. So like, you know what? You're trying
I'm
to
coming
escape.
back.
That's fine. And the door was open and she was gone. It wasn't like a just ran outside the door and like what do we do now? Like she ran and she's gone. It would take multiple of us and like anyone we see walking to also get her to trap this stupid dog. But at least like it's a dog with a plan. But, like this cat is just like, okay, like you get treated so well. I spent so much money on you. Is eating like this stupidly expensive $5 for a canned cat food for dinner, and you have the audacity to try and run. Next time, go ahead.
Yeah, see what happens. See, those
Yeah,
dogs won't be as nice as I will,
All right, except not with the dogs, because those dogs are mean. Those are mean dogs.
Silly Leon, his lion tendencies, he thought he was
he has a
big cat.
whole gamer chair to himself, by the way. That is only his chair. It is, in all honesty, it is a full gamer chair, and it's only for him. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like to imagine you have friends come over and you're like, oh, sorry, that's Leon's chair. You're gonna have to sit on the floor.
Yeah, if they'd even want to sit there. There's so much cat hair on that chair. Only like a week, only had the chair for about a week, by the way. But yeah.
It is now. But we do also want to send out some celebrations, congratulations, whatever, to our friend and producer Katie. It's her birthday, so hopefully if she's watching this, happy birthday. I know your sister is really excited to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, guys, somebody posted on Twitter. So Katie's like, yo, it's birthday. And I was like, yo, happy birthday. And somebody, she posted her original message with the selfie, and somebody comments, this has to be your sister. What?
For our audio listeners, Sierra is devoid of word right now.
This short, dark brunette, blue-eyed person does not look anything like me.
And on top, I'm sure you could make it. You could try to make each other look alike, but she's also American. You're Canadian, so she wouldn't be your sister. Maybe you guys could be cousins, but you wouldn't be sisters.
Yeah, you need to have some distinction in the bloodline there. You can't be sister. What?
Yeah, I don't know what that replier was on about, but anyway, happy birthday to Katie. Hope she had a fun day. But let's get into the real
happy birthday to my sister. Yeah, the Pokemon of the podcast. The Pokemon.
Let's get into the Pokemon on this Pokemon podcast. So, the grand challenge was this past weekend. I'm not gonna lie, I was literally playing VGC on the Wednesday, the day before it went live, on Battle Stadium, and I just didn't build a team, didn't lock in a team. I also went down to Atlantic City this weekend for a day, so I wouldn't have been able to play. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But I know everybody was super locked in. All our caster friends, all our Twitter friends, everybody was playing the GC, and that includes you too, right, Sierra?
I did play a little bit. So I didn't play as much as I wanted to originally. The issue so I played Earthworm. I actually played Ugarte's team. And it was super fun. But I had Valorant broadcasts on the Friday and Saturday. And by the time we reached Sunday, I had quite a few friends that were in contention for top cut spots. That's obviously a lot of points. And I don't think that I would have gotten matched up with anyone high elo. but I was worried about being like a point donator to them by accident, and then all of a sudden somebody would win this easy matchup against this idiot playing Earthworm. And that all of a sudden it would knock then a friend of mine out of the top gun. So I just didn't play after a bit, but the team was fun. It had a Vivillon as well. It had Garchomp. Basically all the games that I played, I won 5 out of 6, I believe, and I just led Garchomp and Vivillon, and that was the only thing. And 5 out of the 6 of those games, I beat them on lead. One of the games didn't work.
And what did you do? Just like Rage Powder Earthquake, or like what was the strat with that lead?
Just like Sleep Powder.
Okay.
Sleep Powder, Earthquake. If I didn't think of Sleep Powder, Tailwind, Terra Ground, Earthquake. That was about it. Sometimes I think there's a sash. I'm just gonna throw off a hurricane. Why not?
See, I think like that helps the mindset of playing in GCs. Of if you have a lead that you probably, if you played all the games, you probably lead about 85-90% of the time. But then also, like, in your perspective, you on Sunday, now you have free time. You've only played 5 games, 6 games. Well, now you got to play 40 other games in one day to try to, so like, I think the mental drain on by the time Sunday hits during a GC is like, it's, if you're not keeping up with 15 games a day, like it can really catch up to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. For the global challenges, it's always like, I feel like during the global challenge, like nobody's really enjoying it, but because it is just stressful. You have a lot of games, especially if you fall behind. I will say sometimes the GCs are put on like a regional weekend as well, or a weekend where there is a lot going on, in which case that's just super, super stressful. But it seems like after this global challenge, like I actually heard quite a decent amount of positive reception. I think part of it too is that this format seems to lend pretty okay to best of one. At least like you can have more fun. So even if it was, I don't know, like a lot of games, like, I don't know, I heard more positive things than anything. So that's good because it's part of the circuit.
Yeah, for sure. I also heard more positive, experiences with it. Obviously, there's still the best of one aspect of it, and people, wishing for open team sheets on the Switch or whatever if the technology existed. But like, I don't know if this is just confirmation bias, like people actually tweeting it more this time around, like publicly talking to. I feel like more friends and more people ran into other notable trainers more this time around, and it could just be anecdotal from the people that did post about it, but it did seem like people were like, oh man, like just being in different discords and group chats with people like, oh, I just ran into X player and he's in 15th right now, but like it seemed like it wasn't as getting matched up with randos, for lack of a better word. Like it was like, it felt like the top trainers were all literally facing each other online just as they would at a regional.
I definitely agree that it seemed a little bit more pronounced than usual. The amount of times I saw I'm against this person, I'm against this person, oh, me and this person just match. I think part of it is with the Grand Challenge that they've cut down the eligibility. Before it was used for anyone in the Asian circuits to be able to then qualify, and they've now removed that, at least from these ones. So that cuts down a huge amount of the player base. That's actually a huge player base that's gone. That would have been super uber competitive in these things. It's also ELO based. If you're at 1500s, you shouldn't be going up against someone who's at like 1750. So like after you get past the first day, then it's going to be people at like the 1700s and above all going up against each other, which are then our top players. So it just kind of like super fed into itself with that. I also think with the invite structure being how it is this year, a lot of people could skip out on the global challenges last year. Why did they need to play them if they already have an invite? This year, with it being the NA top 75, it's a little bit more important to be getting the points while you can, especially if that's going to be the difference maker. So I think a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have felt the need to all of a sudden have to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's one of the things where myself included are going to have to continue to adjust to this season as like people's decisions and why they're going to make those decisions, pros or con, because of the top 75. It's a whole new world for a lot of VGC trainers out there that like you maybe you wanted to go to the park with your friends, but it's like, no, I gotta try to get top 75. So now now you can't go to the park. Now you gotta lock in Dondozo Tatsugiri for 45 straight games. Like was your Earthworm? Was it like a like what type of set was it? Were you trying to stall them out, or like was it just a normal set?
There was not a single game that I won where I brought the Earthworm, or like it never hit the field. It was literally when I had the Earthworm and I actually hit the field. It was the 1 out of 6 games that I completely lost. 5 out of the 6, I beat him on lead. There is no other Pokemon shown, so I honestly couldn't tell you. And I had Shentail. It's kind of cool.
Okay, because I never understand the people that play like stall and stuff, and I'm not that I'm counting Dondozo as stall. It's just it came into my head as we were talking, like that. Like if you were to play some Chansey Shuckle thing for 45 straight games, 15 games a day, like how many hours of your weekend did you spend just hitting the same button for 20 straight minutes for 45? Or 20 minutes times 45 games is whatever that number is. Like that's a lot of time investment.
How much of your life did you just sway? I'm just kidding, but like, no. It was, the rest of the team was like decently aggressive. It wasn't as a stall out team. It was like a set up sweepers-esque sort of thing.
Was there anything in your short amount of games that you ran into that you were like, just like silly, best of one silliness that you were not expecting whatsoever?
I honestly, like, I really wish that I had the data of having played out my games, because I played my games like such a NPC. Genuinely. Lead, I look at their team and I'm like, is there anything where I can't auto win with this lead or like have a good shot? It looks good enough, I guess. I'm just gonna run it back. And then just kept doing that until I lost. And then it was like, well, that wasn't fun. And then it was kind of done. So yeah, so I wouldn't be the greatest expert on.
Don't worry. One time when you actually do play 45 games, your 44th game, you're going to be at like 17-23 on the ladder, and that 44th game, you're going to face the most nonsensical team you've ever seen in your life, and lose 15 LP.
They just need to have it like, this one was great because it wasn't on a regional weekend. I had Valorant broadcast. It was the lower finals and the grand finals of Ascension. It was which team we're sending to VCT Americas Tier 1. I was busy. They like, as soon as there is a GC that is not on the same weekend as a big broadcast for me. I remember one GC last year, I was trying to play my matches in between casting rounds at a regional. There was one point I had the Switch on the desk to play out the last couple turns because they needed us to fill, and I was in the middle of a game, and I would get punished for leaving.
I feel like we should. Did you like hold your Switch up and like tell people, or no? Like, I feel like that would be a good promotion, right? Like, look, like, oh, here we are at the regional. Here's the global challenge, and this is how it works. And look, I'm playing right now, and your co-caster.
I don't want to get in trouble.
No, but I'm saying like we shouldn't get in trouble.
I hope if Katie listened for her happy birthday that she stopped listening by now. But like,
no, you're good. You're good.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there maybe could have been a way to promote it, but at the same time, it was like we need you guys to go on the desk. I'm in a game. I don't know, and I didn't want it to appear bad, like, hey guys, like I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm doing this instead, because it wasn't like a prepped lounge segment type thing to where it would have been okay. But yeah,
well, we're gonna need a lot of lounge segments when we have to fill for quite a while after the ace, or when they set up the asymmetrical cut, because I heard the fill was pretty long in Baltimore, as well as TCG. They had to fill. I think Skarzig and the other casters were drawing Pokemon for like 55 minutes, like in the lounge, like just filling, waiting for the next round to start. So, but Skarzig's a wonderful artist, so he can always make it entertaining. But yeah, I think honestly for us, Sierra, we've yapped enough. I think everybody's expecting we got a big guest, the Baltimore Regional Champion. Before we go, I will say we are going to have a poll that's going to be in the description and in the Discord for our next OHKO team building, I guess, team that we're going to choose a Pokemon to revolve the team around. And I was talking to people, and we're going to, there's not a lot of grass starter usage right now. We think of a lot, or the first partner Pokemon, excuse me. Incineroar's out there, Primarina's out there, there's some other things, but not people using the grass. So we're going to have 4.
Except for Rillaboom. Like, we'll put that.
Well, he's his own thing. He's not even a first partner Pokemon. He is just a god. He's just a king among.
I thought you were going to say he's just a guy. He's just a guy.
Yeah. So we're gonna use. So okay, Rillaboom's on 60% of the teams, and then these other 4 grass types are on like 0.5%. So we're gonna have a poll. Let us know which Pokemon you want the OHKO community to build a team around, and it is Hisuian, Decidueye, Meowscarada, Chestnut, and Serperior. Those are 4 grass first partner Pokemon. We'll set up the poll. Let everybody have a couple days to vote on that one. But I think we're ready to move on, Sierra, right?
Yeah, we got a special guest on, and I was super excited to have the chance to talk to him. So we're gonna have the quickest 2-second turnaround, and then we'll have our special guest on, Baltimore Regional Champion Nicholas Morales.
And we are here with the first Worlds qualified player in North America of the 2025 season, Nicholas Morales, the winner of the Baltimore Regional Championship just a few weeks ago. Nicholas, thank you so much for coming on the OHKO podcast. How are you doing today?
I appreciate you guys for inviting me. I'm all right. I'm a little hungry, but I'm all right.
Well, Rip, if you hear a stomach growling halfway through, we know who exactly it is. But before we start getting into the nitty-gritty questions, fun little kind of like rapid fire questions, get to know you just a little bit more, ease everyone into it. First off, favorite Pokemon? A real hard question, I know.
Pokemon, Aurorus.
Ooh, what?
Aurorus?
Good one, though.
What? Where did this come from?
Backstory? You just think it's
I
awesome?
need a backstory on this.
When I played Gen 6, that was the fossil I chosen. I fell in love with it. Its design is awesome. The only thing that's like really bad about it is its typing. Otherwise, it's amazing. If it was if it was competitively viable, I'd use it on every team, just straight up. It's so awesome.
I feel you with my favorite Pokemon has an absolute dog typing.
Yeah,
Rip Slitherwing.
Unfortunately, 4 times weak to steel is it's a little tough to get through in competitive, right?
4 times weak to fighting is the worst. It's even worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ice Rock. That is Game Freak got together that day and said, let's make some poor kid's life, terrible with this favorite Pokemon. But are there any Pokemon you love Aurorus? Are there any Pokemon that you dislike? You see it and you're just like, ugh.
Just hatred flows through you.
It's gonna sound crazy. It's Urshifu. I do not like Urshifu.
For VGC reasons, or?
So I used to play 1v1 when Swish dropped, right? And then the DLC dropped. And then Urshifu came out. And as you know, Urshifu just completely ruined it. And I hated it so much. Then I got into VGC after that. And guess who was top dog in VGC, right? And just like, man, I hate this guy. He's so good. I use him begrudgingly. I use it begrudgingly.
No, I feel like that's quite a few players. It's like you've either just accepted and then you're like, oh, I kind of like him because he's good, or it's just like, oh, I accept it and I hate him for it. Like
why does he hit me through Protect? Like, come on, like what is this?
Yeah. I agree.
I think you're not the first person to ponder these things. I don't know if we're ever going to get an answer, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Next rapid fire question. What was your first ever Pokemon game?
I want to say Fire Red, Leaf Green. Specifically Fire Red. I believe it's Fire Red.
All right.
Wow.
Kanto, but not quite going back to like the old days of like red, blue, yellow.
I'm not that old. I'm only 23. I'm not that old.
Yeah, I was just saying I was in what was I? It was either 5th or 6th grade. So I was like close to middle school, pretty much in middle school when Fire Red and Leaf Green came out, and that was your first one. I was playing for like 8 years at that point. You're making me feel old, bro.
Comes on the podcast, instantly calls hosts old. Crazy stuff. Crazy. All right, last but not least, your favorite Pokemon game.
My favorite? So, this is a tough question. I would want to say features-wise, it's X and Y. I love the accessory features and like the camera and all like the world of X and Y. It's just lacking gameplay-wise, right? I think overall, probably Black and White 2. That's a big nostalgia factor for me. Of nothing will ever top those games. I've endless hours in it. But X and Y, my first time playing through, was very fun. It's just the gameplay itself is lacking. But all the features they had were amazing. I don't know why I didn't carry it over to other games, actually.
I love X and Y. I
you're in a
definitely
safe space here. This is an X and Y stan podcast.
Yeah.
So
X and Y, going back and playing the game, I have more appreciation than I did at the time. It kind of holds up well. I definitely, coming off of Black and White 2, it's definitely less features, but I don't know, maybe because we have less stuff now, but it's kind of fun to go back on.
I feel it's the Pokedex. They only have 100, maybe 90 so Pokemon. And it's also the gen with the least amount of legendaries. They only have 3. Not counting mythicals at all. They only have Zygarde, Yveltal, and Xerneas. And that's it. And then you have
I kind of like that, though.
I like the legend. I think the legendaries add more to the game, like lore wise, and just story building wise too. You have the lake spirits. I think those are iconic. The Kanto birds are iconic, right? Legendary beasts are iconic, right? Reggies are iconic, right? I feel I think it's just the Sword of Justice. Who cares about Sword of Justice, right? But all the other ones are pretty iconic. Even the Tapus. Everybody loves the Tapus, right?
Everyone loves Tapus, yeah.
So I feel in most cases, a lot of people appreciate the legendaries. The minor ones, of course.
Maybe I'm just an old stick in the mud, but I'm I like the legendaries we have, but I'm we could use with less. But maybe I'm just a hater.
Well, it's because the legendaries end up being so good in VGC. It's oh man, thank God Xerneas does not exist with terrestrialization. Some Terraghost.
That's so true on that one.
Terraghost power. We need Yveltal. You already got all these Calyrexes running around. We need Yveltal to come save us.
But at what cost? That's what you have to. That's what you figure out with these trades.
Just bring one back. Why not?
Yeah,
we could. Okay.
So there's just another F. I just saw your Twitter profile. It's a Persona photo, and I'm also a Persona fan. I wanted to ask you, just trying to get to know you a little bit better. What are some of your favorite Persona games? And have you ever noticed that there's kind of a big crossover between Pokemon fans and Persona fans? I don't know if you have that same feeling or not among your friend group.
A lot of Pokemon fans are Persona fans. My favorite game of all time, it's probably because of how I played it. So my first ever Persona game I completely finished was Persona 5, right? I played 3 when I was a lot younger with my dad, actually. That's how I got into the series. It was Fez. I don't know why my dad had a little kid playing Persona 3 Fez, the original. Obviously, I'd get stuck on every single boss, and that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
I had vivid memories of playing the answer and never being able to complete it, right? So I hate Persona 3. Deep down, it's a good game. I love it now, but back then it was I had vivid memories of not liking it. My favorite of all time is Persona 4 Gold.
That's a great answer. I'm with you on 4 Golden. That's my choice.
I've never played.
Oh, Sierra, you got about 85 free hours right about now, because you could just lock in.
I actually have quite a few months free.
Unemployed life. Let's go. And then you just binge your Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just play straight playing Persona. You complete the game.
Okay.
Don't you follow walkthroughs as well if you want to do the 100%? If you want to max out all the social links,
it's so fun to play blind the first time though. The first time,
my friend Ted is the one who got me into Persona, and he told me, because I was a Pokemon fan, literally that said the crossover. He was like, it's like Pokemon but with teenagers, essentially. You're the main character, and you're kind of working with all your friends, and they have different elemental powers within the fighting world, and different weaknesses and combos. But then there's also social aspects of it. So you go and beat a boss, but then you also go to the movies, and what answer do you give to the girl in the friend group that you think is cuter than the other girls? It's Pokemon, but with social interactions here. It's the best.
When you first said Pokemon, but with teenagers, I thought you were subbing out the monsters in Pokemon for the teenagers. I'm what is this game? What are you talking about? I'm glad you clarified a little bit more.
Yeah, no. But anyway, we can go back to the Pokemon conversation.
Not a Persona podcast. Not yet. Not until I play it.
I would have loved a Persona podcast. I could sit there and yap about that for hours.
That could be a U2 thing. But we have Pokemon to be talking about, especially too. Definitely grateful that you're appearing on the podcast. Our first regional winner of the season. For anyone who missed out, the Baltimore Regional Championships has just happened. First Reg H event. We're too far in the alphabet, guys, honestly. But the first event of the 2025 season, Nicholas coming off as the winner. How does it feel? Is anything like, because I know that you're in the draft leagues, but now all of a sudden this VGC community, everyone knows your name. Like, how has it been being a regional champion? Has anything kind of changed since then for you?
I'm my own worst critic in that kind of regard. I have a lot to improve on. In all honesty, like my friends are coming up to me like, I gotta ask you for VGC builds, and I'm like, please don't do that. If you actually look at my pace, my instant had wrong EVs. I think I have like 120, which does nothing, right? Like I have a lot to learn, and that kind of aspect, right? Like I said, I'm thankful of going to the event. When I went to the event, I just wanted to make day 2, right? That was my goal. When I ended up actually getting to top 8, I was like, wow, I'm in top 8. I'm on stream. Then my top 8 game was my closest game out of all of them. I think Lorenzo played fantastic, and that game was so scary. Like I still think about that game. Like, what could I have done differently, right? And it was just don't be scared, right? Like I was getting scared of the Annihilate there, right? Obviously, and it kept just messing me up. And all that kind of stuff is just like, wow, I have a lot to improve and learn on, for sure.
Yeah, I did love your team paste and the no attack mousehold heard around the world, where everybody was trying to figure out how did this 0 attack mousehold get the one shot.
It was just when I went from showdown to in training it up in game, I just wasn't max HP. I was max attack instead because I wanted the KO rolls and all that. And the difference between max HP and max attack is like astronomical. Your max attack opens up a lot more lines for that team.
I mean, yeah, realistically, looking at the role and everything on the Dragonite, like you wouldn't have gotten the KO if you were max HP. Like that was crazy. Like, have you thought about the fact that was a regional winning decision of all things? Just like, it's not living anyway. It's just throw it all in attack.
I thought about it for sure. The only thing that that made it a bit more awkward is I did more damage to my own Archaldon, which was the reason I was max HP at first, right? When testing it, because the Mousehold was only there for Rain Dittos, to support both Arch and my own Basket Legion. So like in Rain Mirrors, right? Depending on what they would have, if their team was just all physical and their Amoonguss didn't have Clear Smog, I would just self pop on my Arch and then I just win because they can't do anything, right? Or for like King Gambit stuff, like maybe some Rain teams might have like a King Gambit on there. I could support my own Basket Legion with the Follow Me and not the Rage Powder because some of them were teching on Safety Goggles. So that was why it was there, and it just happened to work out like that, to be that more offensive kind of piece later on.
Yeah, I did think it was funny when I was watching the commentary, and after you population bomb, for the stamina boost, but then after the 6th one, Aaron's like, "Okay, Mousehold, that's enough. It's time to miss pop bombs. You're doing too much damage to yourself."
In Swiss, that was the funny part. I missed one.
You missed the 1%er?
It was on myself. I hit 3, and then he missed, and I'm just like, okay. Good enough.
Oh, wow. That was the only miss the whole weekend?
That was the only time it missed, yeah.
Of course, it misses after 3, right? On like when you're trying to get the stamina boost out of all times, like it could have been at 5 or anything else.
Body press anyway, so it didn't matter.
Okay, so you're good. I mean, it was really, really cool to see you. Like you're talking about, like, just went and was hoping for day 2, looking for all of this, and then being able to pop off and win the entire event. And I want to know too, kind of, you're newer to VGC from my understanding. I heard that you competed at NAIC. But then like before that, like what's been all of your history with VGC, and then comparing to like how long you've been involved with like the draft league scene?
I didn't really get into VGC until double restricted meta in Swish. That was when I really liked VGC. I was like, oh, this is so awesome, right? And all that kind of stuff. And then like from then I was like actually like playing VGC laddering and all that. Even playing VGC draft, and that's like my origin of how I love VGC was playing VGC draft. I saw the YouTubers playing it. I believe A Drive owned that one, right? And I saw them playing it, and I loved it there. And I wanted to try it for myself, and that's where my love of VGC came from, actually, with VGC draft.
Yeah, I love draft leagues. You know, Sierra's participated in a few. I've played in a few.
I competed in A Drives. I was in the WBE.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking it's funny because most of the draft leagues I was in, it was mainly in Gen 7, were the singles league. So, do you ever, were you also playing singles draft leagues? And like, if you were, or for anyone who doesn't understand like the difference between like a draft league versus just a regular, you go on Battle Stadium and play a game, you want to try to explain the intricacies of draft league Pokemon?
Well, draft league is basically, you with a bunch of, it's usually 12 to 16 people. Sometimes it could be 8, right? And you have a draft board of Pokemon. They usually have ban lists. Some Pokemon that might be banned. A popular ban is like Dragapult, right? Usually Dragapult's banned. Spectrier might be banned, depending on some of them. Chinpow might be banned, right? Usually the top kind of guys would be banned. Or of course, all like both box legends and all that, of course, are also banned, right? But you have a point limit and like you have a roster, and then you go on like a snake draft. So like you got the guy who has like first pick, second pick, third pick, and then it goes down to like the last guy, and then it goes back up. So you have a lot more interesting teams. You're not going to see something standard. Like a standard comp for VGC would be like what? Like Urshifu, Flutter, Torn, right? You're not going to see that. If someone gets that, I don't know what happened. Right?
They just win easy.
They just win. Yeah,
roll everyone.
At most, someone might get like Torn Shifu, right? And even then, like Torn Shifu's like rare to get. Most of the time, most people won't even let you get that, right? They'll just take the Torn because Torn's amazing, right? So like you see more interesting comps. Like you might see something like a Volbeat pop off, right? Because Volbeat got Prankster Tailwind. An Illumise, right? That might pop off. What else is like a common guy in draft? Iron Bundle is very popular, right? And you don't really see Iron Bundle that often, right? A-Tails, amazing. And they don't even like draft like hell with it. You might just have like, an A-Tails as like screen setter, right? Or you see like A-Tails backs. That's a common core. Zapdos is very popular. And you're not going to see Zapdos in standard play, right? So a bunch of guys who are underrepresented in VGC, they get their timeline to shine in draft. And sometimes they're more popular than guys who are very common in regular VGC. Like for Farigiraf, more people would prefer to take the P2 or the Cresselia over something like Farigiraf, right?
Oh, okay. Why would that be? Like, is there like a certain example? Because Farigiraf has just been like kind of running through VGC for a while, even if we haven't seen it like this gen.
Because think about it like this: when you see your opponent has a Farigiraf, right? You're not going to bring Fake Out. It's very simple.
Right, it changes your draft. It changes your team
not every draft is guaranteed to have high tier Fake Out. Your high tier Fake Out is like Rillaboom, Iron Hands, right? Iron Hands is just going to click like Bandage CC or like Booster Energy CC into the Farigiraf. He's not going to click Fake Out. So like, you know what I mean? And they're not going to run Drain Punch because they're going to think you're going to run Psychic Noise. That's the mind game about drafts.
Right. That's what that's what I love so much about draft leagues. And I used to participate in like some on YouTube and just play some that were just showdown, just for fun. Some were really competitive and some were like super basic entry level Pokemon players. And like the mind games and having, let's say, 9 to 10 Pokemon that you drafted on your team based on how many points you had, and having to choose 6 of those 10 Pokemon every week and changing the sets and changing the EV spreads and changing everything. Like, I think there's so much that for any of our listeners that haven't participated in draft leagues, that it can give you so much extra experience using the same Pokemon in a variety of ways. So do you think your experience in VGC draft leagues, did that kind of help you jumpstart your success in, regular VGC, or are they just so different?
Oh, no, for sure. I think a lot of it can translate over, like having to make like reads and predictions. You got to do that in draft, right? And in some cases, you have to do it before you even hit the game, right? And a lot of that might be in Builder, right? So that can also help translate in the game. I see open team sheet. I'm like, okay, like I'm like formulating my game plan before I even like, click A and all that. I see their open team sheet. I'm sitting there, I'm able to think about like what my game plans and all that kind of stuff is, because I'm used to that kind of stuff. So it wasn't actually that bad of a transition.
I want to then talk about because the transition. Because remembering when I played draft, like talking about the prepping versus your opponent and these Pokemon and doing different stuff, and like all so much of it coming down to the team builder. But then entering VGC, of course, your opponent can have well, absolutely anything. And then all of a sudden, like the team that you're building, specifically then again for Baltimore, you're not just prepping against this one opponent with these Pokemon that you kind of know. You have to go up against everything. So even if you do have experience then looking at this team builder and kind of prepping ahead, how does that then vary and change when you have to prep against the entire field? Like, how did you approach building out your Baltimore team?
Well, when I approached it, I started with my big three. My big three are Archeldon, Pelipper, Basculegion, right? I made the choice to go Mystic Water over Life Orb. In all retrospective, I should have been Life Orb, 100%. There's actually a very funny moment. If I was Life Orb, this would have knocked out the T-Flame. There's a moment where I switched in turn one. It's T-Flame Prem. No, I'm sorry. It's like T-Flame Garchomp versus Incin Basculegion, right? I swap out my Incin into Pelipper. Garchomp switches out into Primarina, right? And I jet the T-Flame there, right? So Mystic Water, Aqua Jet, Adamant doesn't knock out the T-Flame. It like lived on like a sliver, right? And I was like sitting there surprised, like, oh, I guess I had to Terror to get that knockout. And then I think that was my first loss. That was my second game, my first loss. And I lost game 3 because of that. And I was like, well, if I was Life Orb, I would have gotten that. Obviously, Mystic Water came in handy in later sets. Like my Basculegion would be like alive and able to click Wave Crash more, or be able to click Last Respects more, right? Because of the Mystic Water. So it was like a trade-off in the end, but there was times where I lost because I was Mystic Water. My next Mon, which I put on my builder, was Amoonguss. Amoonguss helped with Dozogiri. For what I think it is, I think Archeldon Pelipper can beat most Dozogiris. Like if they're Terra Grass and all that, then they gotta play the 50-50 between you always just Electroshock Hurricane. Or if they're Terra Steel, you do Electroshock plus Weather Ball, right? And in most cases, or you set Tailwind and then do all that. In most cases, that'll beat most Dozogiris because they can't tank all that hits. But the Amoonguss was like extra insurance, and it also helped versus other Rain Dittos, of course, in other matchups. Amoonguss was very good. My next mod on the builder was actually Incin. Incin was originally Rillaboom for the terrain, right? Because Archeldon really likes the terrain. I ended up actually struggling a lot with two Pokemon. The Cloak, there was this Cloak Volk Clef team that was going around for a bit.
Oh yeah.
Which really like hard beat my team at that time. And then I was like, okay, what can I do to solve this? And then Golden Go, the plot Golden Go's were actually giving me trouble too. So I was like, oh, let me add Incin. And I know Incin with Flare Blitz looks a little weird on Rain, right?
Yeah.
Mostly because you can't really click your Flare Blitz like too often. It actually ended up being very helpful. Like Archeldon loves the Intim. You get free pivots into like Amoonguss or Basculegion, right? Or even Archeldon itself. You could just have it in the back, or you could like pivot into Pelipper, right? It opened up a ton of lines, and I overall thought Incin was the best addition to that team. And then I kind of explained why I had Mousehold, but Mousehold ended up just helping enable both Basculegion and Archeldon, which is why I was on the team. So it was like just the big 3 plus 3 enablers pretty much to enable them.
Yeah, you're talking about the big 3, and you're saying like that's the first thing in the builder. Like, why was it like the thing? I mean, obviously a lot of people thought it was going to be a strong core going into that. That's not necessarily a surprise. It ended up not being a surprise considering how strong it did. But was there a certain reason why you wanted to bring those 3 in particular? Do you just saw them and thought they'd be good?
Comfortable with Rain. I was trying balance comps. For a while, I was actually on that Volcarona comp. With the Gambit over the Clef. No, I'm sorry. It was I think it was Gambit over Golden Gun on that one. And my Gambit was Safety Goggles, which I think probably ended up why I ended up liking it because I didn't have Goggles Clef. But in the end, I didn't really like it too much, and I ended up liking Rain more because this Rain just felt better for me to pilot. And then from there, my Rain, I think if you're doing Rain, you have to have Arch, Pelly, Basculegion. I don't think you had to do any other Rain Abuser for Swift Swim other than Basculegion. I think Basculegion's the best one.
It's so good.
And just Arch Pelly, pretty much.
I do love how like you kind of explained not just your thought process, but kind of how every Pokemon how you added them to the team and what roles they were filling. And I think that's an important think, because we have a lot of newer players that listen to the podcast that don't have as much experience team building or playing VGC competitively. And, we always have conversations in the Discord about team building and, where to start and how do you start. Like, you kind of perfectly encapsulated what to do. You had a core. So you had Archaludon, Basculegion, Pelipper, and then Amoonguss was to help with the Dozo teams, Incineroar helped with Golden Go, right? Gave you Intimidate to help Archaludon. Yeah, you're very bright for mine, but it's all good. And then the Mousehold also helping support the team. So I think it's just a real, for anybody, listening, that's a good system to follow, that like you have your core Pokemon and then the Pokemon that support those core Pokemon. It's a great way. Is that a strategy that you've always had in team building, or did you have to develop that kind of mindset over time?
What really set that in for me was building for restricted. After building for restricted because all last set I would just sit there, build for restricted, and just try to I really didn't like single restricted. I really didn't like it. I could never find a team that I was like, I'm 100% confident I could win every matchup with this. The only thing I actually ended up finding that I liked, funny enough, was Lunala. And I was just like, why am I not using CSR, right? Right? If for double restricted, I might do Lunala. I love Lunala, like design-wise, gameplay-wise, and all that. I think it's so good. And that was the most comfortable for me. But then there's just matchups Lunala can't win, right? Like any Miraidon matchup, Lunala instantly struggles with, because you don't knock it out. It does a ton of damage to you, and it's just going to full switch around, right? And those popular team comps absolutely like demolish you, right? Of course, CSR is a nightmare to pilot against, right? I think CIR, Ice Rider, was actually pretty good, which I actually like Lunala into, which is why I used it, and Terapagos is a nightmare, right? I actually don't know how I beat any Terapagos that I ended up winning against. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, you can't Moongeist beam the turtle there.
I can't. You just sitting there looking at it like, I don't know what to do.
I mean, you were talking about like for single restricted, you couldn't find a team that you felt could beat anything. Was that also something when you did play double restricted and then looking at this format too of like this rain team, is that kind of like a trend that you go towards? Is you just want something that you think could beat absolutely everything in comparison to like comfort or anything else? Is that where like draft league experience kind of comes in with being able to be adaptable to what you're bringing?
I feel like I want a comfortable matchup in the most things. Like even in the anti-rain teams, those teams are like Sunny Day, Whimsicott, right? I felt pretty good into it because I had the instant, right? You click Sunny Day, okay. What are you doing with your H-Typhlosion or Delphox in the instant, right? Yeah. Like, I feel pretty good into that. That was also why I really, really liked the instant, too, because he really helped with those matchups, which could be a bit dicey at first.
Do you feel like, I was going to say, do you feel like you proved people wrong? Because this is now, like, 2 times in the last half year that people tried to say Incineroar has fallen off, and then immediately wins the first regional.
Me, Brady, and Joe Garte on the podcast before Baltimore were like, is Incin back on Fraud Watch? Like, is it good? And
you people are crazy.
I disagree with you when you say Incin is on Fraud Watch compared to the last format where Incin was like mandatory on every team, right? I think as you compare it to the last format and other formats that you've seen like double restricted where Incin was mandatory, you can say in a sense that he's fallen off because this is one of his weaker formats, right? I don't think Incin's mandatory on every team. I still think he's very good. I think it's just Incineroar doing Incineroar things. I can understand why people say he's fallen off, but I think going to the perspective that it's a bad Pokemon is just not true, right? I think he's very good, but I don't think he's mandatory on every team like he was.
Fair. So then talking about, I want to go back because we talked about your draft league history, and I want to dive a little bit more into your VGC history. You said you started playing with the double restricted of Sword and Shield. We talked about NAIC, but like, I want to know kind of like how often you play VGC and what inspired you as well to start showing up to IRL events and kind of like your goals with that, considering even going into this, you're like, yeah, my goal is just day 2 and like everything else was kind of surprising.
Last year I attended NAIC. I went with a bunch of friends. They all wanted to go, right? Because I have one friend, Calvin. He goes to a lot of events, right? And, everybody else seeing him, he goes to all these events. We're like, oh, we want to go to events too. Let's start going to events, right? So when we see he goes to an event, we're like, oh, maybe we'll plan in advance to see like which one you're going to, and we'll just go too. And then we just do these big like kind of like draft guy meetups, and then we all just go to the event and have fun and meet up. That's why I went to Baltimore and NAIC.
Dang, that's
I
okay.
love that.
So then
it was friendship that
power of friendship.
Got every classic storyline.
Yeah. That's nice then. And then I want to then talk about too, because you're talking about this being like a meetup that you can have with friends and stuff. And I want to call back to the winner's interview you had with Dwee after the entire event. I even tweeted about it when he asked you about like, you're the first Worlds qualifier, how you felt. And you quote like, yeah, I was just going to go to Worlds to spectate. So did you, despite having planned to go to a couple events to be hanging out with your friends, did you not ever want to necessarily pursue an invite? Did you not think that you're good enough? Like, why the surprise that you would now get to compete at Worlds?
I didn't know I qualified for Worlds when I had said that. Let's keep this in mind. I didn't know I qualified for Worlds. I was only planning. We already had planned to go to Worlds, right? We were all going to go as spectators because in Anaheim we got like 3 of us who are in Cali already, right? You'd be like, oh, well, Worlds sounds lit. There's so much to do, right? You got Unite, which I love to watch, right? You can sit there. I know how to watch. I can watch TCG, you know, that kind of stuff. So like, oh yeah, I'd go as a spectator. It sounds like a blast, right? And then that's why I said, oh yeah, I was going to go as a spectator. I didn't realize I qualified when I had said that. Now it's a completely different ballgame. We were going to go anyway, but now it's like, damn, well, now you're competing.
Well, since you are so new, I wonder, like, it used to be a thing that, you know, new players, they would have to build up over time and slowly get better. But over the last couple of years in Pokemon, we've seen that that's not the case anymore. So as you were on your rise, like all the way into top 8 and into finals and stuff, like, were you familiar with the stories of like Tang and Abdullah and Michael Kelch and all these other just straight up superstars from the jump? Did you think you could be the next one to get the regional right at the beginning?
I didn't think I'd win. I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't really hit me. It didn't hit me that I like fully had won until I had gotten home, and I was like, oh my god, like oh my
god,
what
did I just do?
Yeah, exactly. It was all like so shocking to me, like all that kind of stuff. As for like, I think there's a bunch of really, really good players who just can't attend events, right? Like I've been playing VGC for a very long time. I've played in like some more like online tours and all that kind of stuff, right? But I never had the chance to actually go to an IRL event until now. Right? Yeah. So I think there's a bunch of other players like that who maybe just don't have that chance or you know, they don't want to go to an IRL event because, you know, they don't have anyone to go with. Right? Yeah. And for me, my friends being there already was already a big motivator. Be like, okay, well, I have stuff to do afterwards, you know. Even if I don't make day 2, right? We can all like go out to eat, go bowling, go do other stuff, right? Maybe go out for drinks, right?
Go to the aquarium.
Huh?
Yeah.
Did you go to the aquarium? Baltimore is very famous for...
Oh, no. We just had Chinese.
Next time.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. I mean, okay, I want to call back then because you're talking about all the stuff that you can do at events with your friends and stuff, and you're talking about Worlds and how much of a spectacle that is, and you get to watch Unite and TCG. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're competing, your Worlds experience starts to look a little bit differently. Like, how are you then feeling about like that aspect of things if all of a sudden like you're competing? I mean, having gone to events with competitors, it's like it's a lot of prep going into it. Their whole experience is about that then. You're all good. Yeah, more so like a lot of these things that you're talking about, you get to go out to these events with your friends and all of this stuff. And now for Worlds, you're going to be focusing on like the competing aspect of that. Like, how do you feel about that experience overall, that it's going to be a different experience than what your friends get, what you were expecting going into it?
Simply put, I don't think I'm ready for Worlds. I'm going to compete. I'm not going to miss the opportunity. Right now, let's say if I were to right now go compete in Worlds, I think I'd go 1x straight up, right? I think if I want to seriously do well in Worlds, I need to step up my game, do better, and improve. I've watched the VODs of me playing. I've saw a lot of mistakes that I've made, and I think I can do better. It's very simple. As for playing a player versus spectating, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. It might just make a difference as to where my friends currently are, right? Like they might just be watching the big screen, right?
Yeah.
They might just be watching the big screen, right? And that's where I assume they would all be anyway, or somewhere like shopping and all that kind of stuff.
They'll have to pick stuff up for you. they can stand in the long Pokemon Center line for you.
Yeah,
but then
I'll Cash App you or Zelle you them out.
exactly,
Yeah.
perfect.
I'm sorry about Georgia's son. Ain't much I can do about it. That's just Georgia's son for you.
Hey, that's all. It's all good. No worries.
Like,
I think you're an interesting case study for the rest of the season because you're the first player, and the more regional winners we're going to have this conversation of like how invested on your competitive drive are you to continue to attend regionals when you already have an invite versus like the monetary incentive, right? Because like competitively you already have an invite, so you don't necessarily need to go to more regionals, but on the other hand, as a competitive player, well, I'm pretty good at this game. I just won a regional. I'm one of the best players in North America. I beat some of the best players in the world to get that title. So like how of all the events, however many regionals we have this season, how do you balance like I don't need to go because I already have an invite versus I want to go because of my competitive drive?
But I have a big competitive drive. I want to do well and I want to improve. As for going to other events, honestly, it's just a financial and time kind of thing as to if I would go. There are some pretty high level online tours that I'm going to try to participate in. One of my friends is actually a manager for one of them, and he told me, "I'm gonna get you the experience." So I got some hookups along the way, right, to try to get that kind of experience. But that's just for me because I want to seriously do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I see the opportunity to go to Worlds. I don't want to just bomb out, right? I want to put my best foot forward, right? Even if I don't end up going to another event, I still want to put my best foot forward.
I mean, you said that you're your own worst critic and that in your current state, you you don't think that you're ready enough for Worlds. You now have, almost a year to prepare. You have like 10 months to prepare now for this World Championships ahead of you. Do you think having that competitive drive that you can get up to a standard you find acceptable for Worlds, or how do you kind of like stack up that tier of talent as opposed to where you are?
Nothing's going to be acceptable for me until I date 2 Worlds. If I don't date 2 Worlds, it ain't good enough. If I date 2 Worlds, I did it. I date 2 Worlds. If I date 2 Worlds, I'm going to be popping off so hard. Drinks are on me. Dinner's on me. Everything with the friends. It's all on me.
I don't think you get money for day 2 Worlds, and you're like...
It ain't even about money. It's just the fact that I'm just happy I date 2 Worlds.
Bro, I'm gonna be a part of the posse if you day 2 Worlds. I'm getting free dinner, I'm ordering the most expensive steak, I don't know. We got it on tape.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're also then looking like day 2 in World, seeing like the fight you put up at Baltimore, and you already talking about your experience, I think was awesome. You got 10 months. This is also probably going to be the hardest World Championships ever, considering the changes to the qualification system. So, like,
gotta give me something.
You gotta have faith.
I'm trying to bring out that competitive drive. I'm trying to,
a really funny conversation with one of my friends, and they're like, there's a possibility you could win Worlds. And I was like, awesome, God-given miracle. I end up winning Worlds. I'm never playing Pokemon again.
End on the high.
It's all downhill from there.
You just go out on top.
Oh my goodness.
That would be such a baller move if somebody comes in, wins Worlds, leaves, doesn't elaborate, right? But I think you took out some big names on your journey in Baltimore. There was a lot of top talent from North America there, and including Paul Chua in the finals. Now, Paul is one of the most storied players in VGC history. So, were you familiar with how significant of an opponent you were facing down in the finals as such a new player?
Unfortunately, I was not. He seemed like a really nice guy. I talked to him afterwards. He seemed like a really nice guy. I'm just not too familiar with all the big names who aren't like YouTubers. It's like I don't know any YouTubers I fought, right? But like anyone else, I wouldn't be too familiar with because I don't, I'm not too invested in the scene. I think honestly, it was better for me that I didn't know who it was. Mostly because then there's like, okay, there's just a regular game,
You looked
Right.
did you find out like what was your then reaction when you found out afterwards how many regionals this guy's won,
like,
how
oh,
good of a
wow.
player he is?
I was like, oh wow, he won a lot. And I was so confused with me, like, what do you mean? Like this, like I kept hearing like 666, like six, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, is it Dragon? What do you mean? Did I just stop Dragonite from winning its like 7th regional? It wasn't the Dragonite. It was the player itself, and I was like, oh.
I do love I love your innocence about like, not knowing him and how it helped you, because there might have been someone, let's say somebody else, player X was in the finals against Chua instead of you. They might have played Chua 7 or 8 times over the course of the years at different regionals, learning different tendencies, learning different, play styles, how they play in the matchup, how they make, go for big decisions and stuff. But like, you're kind of, your novice level of or knowledge of Chua helped you in the biggest moment of your career. It helped it make the moment not too big because you weren't worried about, oh man, he's one of the best out there. He has this playstyle. I have to counteract that playstyle. Like, you were just vibing in the finals.
Yeah, I think it also worked to my own benefit to where they didn't know me very well either, right? So then it's like, well, how does this guy play, right? I only seen him forget how to play the Dozogiri matchup in top 8, right? And then like I saw him make aggressive plays in top 4.
I mean, talking a little bit about how you played, the mouse hold that you added as the last thing on your team was one of the things that was the most memorable from that match, that game 2 and that game 3. I don't know if you could tell during in the moment, but I know you said you went back and watched it after. But like, how does it feel that everyone was rooting for you, the crowd cheering for this mouse hold, this population bombs?
Someone screaming crit, 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 crit when I hit when that guard top clicked EQ. I might have had the biggest crash out after the game. If he crit me there, I don't know. I might never play Pokemon again. I heard it. I heard that loud and clear.
Hey, well, Chua's allowed to have friends. Some people root for you, some people root for him, right?
Crowd switch up's really funny on that one.
They switched up like crazy. They were rooting for me and then rooting against me and rooting for me again. They were like, all right, pick which one. Are you
guys rooting for chaos at that point, right?
True. It's true. I mean, even like the casters, it was Aaron and Rose casting over the match. Like, they were also just getting super pumped over these population bombs.
I could hear the crowd counting down. Game 3, I could hear them.
How did that feel to have such a massive crowd watching
you? I was counting down too.
You were like, please give me that 10.
Come on. I know this calc by heart. Come on. Don't be reasonably bulk invested.
What's crazy with Mousehold is like, it kind of shows it just in isolation, it shows the flaws of damage rolls. Like, because some of your little population just little ding, and then you got a max roll on the next pop bomb, and it was like, oh my god, this is just heart palpitations. This hits it 10 times, and depending on 10 damage rolls, if you get there on Dragonite.
Like, if the min roll is 10%, it's a knockout. Guaranteed.
Right.
If it's all 10. That's the scary part about population bomb.
That is the math. I like that.
At least you only missed one all weekend, and it was against your own Duralis, so you're good on that one. You had the luck on your side.
Well trained. It was a well trained mousehold. My mousehold loved me.
Perfect. We've seen some heartbreaking events based off of misses, so yeah, for your Pokemon to love you, that's a good thing.
I tried to actually make my team as consistent as possible going in. Someone asked me why my Archaudon wasn't Draco Meteor, and I said I just didn't want to miss Draco Meteor. It's very simple. My most inconsistent move was Population Bomb, which had a 1% chance to miss, essentially.
Yeah, I love it. I love the consistency. We talk about it all the time on the podcast. Certain players go for broke. They'll click Fissure. They'll click, Thunder outside of the rain just to see if it lands. And you're like, no, 99%. I like my odds. 99% accurate.
Original double restricted, I hated Palkia because it's like What's my single target move? It's Hydro Pump. You know how many games I lost off of missing Hydro Pump? Like my opponent
I'm
hits
guessing
like
too
10.
many.
My opponent hits like 10 in a row. I hit 2. What happened?
But I think with Maushold specifically, because you've kind of gotten this, big attention online and the mighty Maushold, and everybody's loving it. And for most of Scarlet and Violet's history, Maushold has kind of been seen as like the Robin to Annihilape's Batman, right? And Annihilape is a strong Pokemon in this format right now. And you specifically not having Annihilape and going for the Technician version instead of Friend Guard, like, was there any time during the team building process that, because Maushold and Annihilape are so synergistic together, you tried out Annihilape, or was Annihilape never in the cards because Archaludon was always your main carry?
No, actually, it was over the instant slot. A couple of times there was Annihilape there, and like I said, I just didn't like it in those like Golden Go, folk matchups and all those kind of things. I just didn't like Annihilape. The other thing about Annihilape is I didn't really like the bulk up set. I only really liked the AV one with that rain. I just didn't think I have enough turns to sit there and could bulk up with it, right? So then I would want to go AV, but then my Archaludon doesn't have AV, so then I'm taken away from Archaludon, who is going to be the most consistent member of my team, which is the other reason why I went away from Rillaboom, because I thought Rillaboom really needed the AV as well. Why Instant just worked out so perfectly.
Makes a lot of sense, but I want to talk a little bit about the rest of your Baltimore experience then, and kind of just your experience competing in person for VGC in general, especially since you were able to go on this absolutely phenomenal run that wasn't even quite real to you till after you got home.
Was it? It still don't feel real. Baltimore was interesting. I'll tell you, the chair sucked. I said this before, I'll say it again. Those were very uncomfortable.
I saw the pictures. Like, there was a couple people who tweeted that, like, the chairs broke on them.
Yeah, I saw that happen. I saw someone's chair broke live. I saw that. What else?
Live?
While they were sitting in it, just...
Yup, I heard it, and I looked and I saw it happen. I saw the rest in peace the Baltimore chairs tweet, which is a bunch of the chairs in the corner were all like broken and stuff, right? I don't know if you guys heard about the TCG P chair situation, that nightmare. We a couple of things other that it might have been because it was their first event. We couldn't like get into the venue like super early on day 2, but they had us like waiting outside for quite a bit. I was some like water pipe issue. It might have been. I heard it was like their first event ever, so I'm not too sure what was going on there.
At least it was like you had to wait outside in September, because I've waited outside an event in December before years back, and that one was painful.
At least it was warm. I'll give you that. At least it was warm inside. I think overall I just had fun. There wasn't really like the shops were all right. I felt like because I didn't get there on Friday, there wasn't much at the shop that was too interesting. I saw like some people they bought like these like Ogre Palm plushies, and I was like, "Where are the Ogre Palm plushies? I would have loved one." Even though it was more expensive at the event.
I would love an Ogre Pond plushie. Do they have plushes of all 4, or is it only one? You like the Wellspring one?
Yeah.
They have all 4, I believe.
At NAIC, I got this one at NAIC, this Hoopa one. This is like one of my favorites.
Ooh.
Hey, yo.
Do you play Hoopa in Unite, if you play Pokemon Unite at all, or?
No, I play my favorite Pokemon. Lapras in Pokemon Unite.
Lapras kind of clapping people.
Oh my goodness.
Now, what are I'm just wondering, your aspirations? You got 10 months, like we said, to Worlds. Like, do you have any content creator aspirations, like starting, streaming with your regional championship team, or maybe making YouTube videos, or posting more draft league stuff? Like, what's the next couple of months look like for you? Maybe you could do coaching.
I thought about streaming, in all honesty. I'm really busy, and I'm not home too often, other than like maybe like a Saturday or Sunday I'll be home, right? And even then, I like to take my few days off and just kind of like leave the house and go do like all my grocery shopping and all that kind of stuff, right? So I don't really know if I were to stream what my schedule would be like, and I don't think it'd be very consistent.
Fair play. What about then competing wise? Like, is there already another like, hey, going for fun event that you've already got planned out, or
either depending on when my winnings come in, if they come in on time before Louisville, I'd probably go there as a spectator because I know a bunch of my friends are going, or maybe Toronto.
You should
Toronto's
do Toronto.
gonna be a fun time. Toronto's
Yeah.
it's a great city.
Super biased because Canadian. The fact that it's in the mid of December, I think, is still a mess. Please give us a Toronto regionals in like April or May or something. Like the middle of December is crazy, but Toronto otherwise is amazing.
Work would be the only thing that stops me from going to Toronto. I don't know what my work schedule would be like because that's busy month. So then, instead of working like 4 days a week, having like the 10-hour, 40 days a week schedule that I normally have, I have the 62-hour schedule instead, which is not fun. If that lines up exactly with busy month, then I'm only gonna have 1 day off, and it's just like I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, that's fair play. Checks out. Makes sense.
I do feel bad though with Toronto in December because like I remember back in I think it was 2017 and 2018 that Toronto was in May and like you're right on the water, like the weather was gorgeous, maybe just like a light little jacket, nothing too crazy. Like it is a beautiful town, like I said, like and the having everybody be cold and inside for Toronto is going to be a bummer compared to being able to walk around the city and stuff.
Probably want to go back to NAIC in New Orleans. That one seems fun. Or, from what I heard, this sounds very devious. I don't know how true this is. There are 3 secret regionals. And apparently one of them is supposed to be in Florida. Now, if you ask me, I never heard of a secret regional before. That sounds devious as hell. Right? Wait, who's going to a regional? Right?
Like, you go to the door... And you're like, hello, I'm here for the marine biology convention. And then they let you in, and then it's everybody playing Pokemon on the inside.
Exactly.
It's just like undercover.
How is it a secret? How is it a secret? But apparently it's announced, right?
I will
Florida.
So, as per the regional schedule that they had on broadcast, I guess technically you would consider them secret. There's just 3 more planned. I don't know when they're going to announce them. I don't know if they're waiting till LAIC. Sometimes the regional thing is sporadic, but there is going to be 3 more events. We just don't know quite where.
Because Georgia, my state will never get one, even though it has a major city in being in Atlanta, right? We will never get one because of our gaming laws. So the next closest one for me would always be Florida.
Okay.
I personally, I prefer this like speakeasy version of a regional.
I like the devious regionals.
Where everybody shows up pretending not to be Pokemon,
Not to be
just
playing
normal
Pokemon?
people.
I like
and then
that
you
one.
get through the door.
That would be fun. That would be really fun. You have like a Coke and Robon.
Oh my god.
I personally vote the 3 devious secret regionals to all just be Toronto again, but like during the nicer weather periods.
How are the other Canadian, like, obviously there's a lot of big cities in Canada. I'm not going to try to name all of them, but like we do Toronto and Vancouver all the time. CR, like, do you think there's another state that'd be cool, like a Montreal or Alberta or Calgary? I don't know, like, do you like that it's Toronto, Vancouver?
I mean, if you had to pick 2, Toronto and Vancouver are the best. If you had a third, it'd be Montreal. If you had a 4th, you're reaching, but that would be like Edmonton or Calgary. But it's like that one, if you're looking at events that are difficult for people to travel to, like if people already have difficulties with Vancouver, like we're not going to Edmonton or Calgary. Also, Alberta sucks. I'm required to say that as a Canadian, but like
Okay.
it's if we got a third one, it would be Montreal. Which would be that would be cool. Like I know that there's an R6 major that's supposed to be happening there. I think like in a month or so. Maybe it's next year. I don't remember, but like Montreal would be cool. But
I don't speak French. You'd have to help
Montreal's
me through the city.
very split. Very split. I mean, as a Canadian, like you don't really need to know French if you're in the English part, unless you want to get like higher education or like go to like government work. But for Quebec, unless you are in like a smaller town, you should probably know English. And Montreal is very like, it'd be fine. Like if you could go to Japan for Worlds, you can go to Montreal for a regional.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah.
So you'd be good. You'd be good. As for us, we're talking about the schedule, everything coming on up. But is there any other questions that we're like, oh my god, Nicholas, you gotta answer this. We're dying to know.
I said I'm already.
New Orleans, yeah.
I heard such good things about it. I didn't go, but like that's definitely one I want to.
Amazing. I love watching Unite. The Unite there was so hype.
Unite's always hype.
My favorite team won too, so it worked out.
Nice. I actually do want to know, because you had Archaludon, and I believe, if I'm looking at it right, I think you're the only Archaludon in top 8, right? We go down to, yes, you're the only Archaludon player in top 8. So, like, that was the Pokemon to beat going into Baltimore. Everybody and their mother was like, Archaludon sweeping, Archaludon's the greatest thing, 60% Archaludon usage, but then you're the only one that got top 8 with it. So, are you surprised, like, there were 4 Porygon Ursaluna teams in top 8 compared to your 1 Rain team?
For sure. The 2 Pokemon that surprised me the most were Garchomp. Garchomp doing really well. Sneasler doing so well. Cause I was sleeping on that Pokemon before. I just thought that it was like some kind of hacks engine. Just like you only use it because you want Dire Claw sleep. Like that's the only reason you're using it, right? For what it's worth, every Dire Claw I got hit by Slep Beat.
The prophecy fulfills itself.
The prophecy fulfills itself. That's right. And Ursaluna P2. I did not expect that Ursaluna P2 comp to be like doing that well. One of my friends, actually, Dylan, he made top 16 with that. He was doing great with it. So I had plenty of practice because we would be scrimming each other. I had good practice into that team comp beforehand, so I knew how to play the Ursaluna P2.
And then do you think, because we had a conversation last week about the dominance of the top 3 steel types of King Gambit, Archaludon, and Golden Go, and they're pretty much on every team as far as you scroll down the list. One of the players will have one of those 3 steel types. How do you, do you have any advice for people trying to team build in Regulation H with the prevalence of those 3 steel types, throughout the format? Like, how do you team build knowing that there's going to be a really strong steel type on the other end?
You definitely need some kind of a steel killer. So I think the strong ground types like Garchomp and Ursaluna are really strong right now. I think alternatively, you can just use your own King Gambit, and that will probably get you pretty far because King Gambit beats 2 of them. King Gambit will beat the non-Terra Fairy Archaludons. You run into the rare Terra Fairy Archaludon that you run into will give you trouble. But most of them run Terra Grass for Amoonguss stuff anyway. But and the rare chance, I think Terra Fairy is like the second most popular option for it. On that chance, then yeah, your King Gambit's not going to beat that. So you probably either want some kind of strong fire type, which are plenty of, or some kind of strong ground type, or both. Both work good too.
Right.
Is there a fire ground Pokemon? I'm just trying to think out loud.
Camerupt.
Well, I guess
Is there a fire ground
first.
Pokemon that's good?
Mega Camerupt.
Mega Camerupt, yeah. You know what? Actually, if Mega Camerupt existed...
There you go. Primal Groudon.
Right. If Mega Camerupt, we just coded it into Scarlet and Violet, no other Megas, no anything, like, it probably would be good because it's the only Mega. It's the only one that gets the base
Dude,
stat
it reminds me of those clips where it's like the one like pro soccer player against the 100 toddlers. Like, yeah, it's going to be good. That's not fair at that point.
If you put Primal Groudon into the meta, or Archaludon Rain's not going to do anything.
Okay, you're not wrong.
That's true. That's a Game Freak. Get on it. Yeah, but unless Sarah, you have anything else, I'm ready to move on to our question of the week.
Let's get that question of the week.
All right, Nicholas. So how this works, at the end of every podcast episode, we answer a question from our community that they post in Discord. So if anyone is interested in asking us questions at the end of the episode, make sure you join our Discord. We have a channel for it. The link is in the description below. This is a question for all 3 of us, but of course you're the guest, so you get to answer first. And it's just a simple question from Flame G. What's your celebratory meal after a big win? What's your go-to? Great day at work, or maybe you just want a regional, or like, I gotta celebrate, I gotta eat something. What's your celebratory meal?
Oh, I had some salmon.
You had salmon in Baltimore?
I love how fast that was an answer. You knew. You had that on lock.
That was the exact thing that I had. I was like, I want something nice. I'm gonna have some nice, expensive salmon. I'm a fancy.
Right, I can afford the salmon now that I just want a regional.
Well, credit card.
If you're in Vancouver, if you go to Vancouver, they have nice salmon there. Very good. So you can definitely get nice salmon dinner there.
My second answer is crab. I just didn't feel like having crab on that day. So,
well, Baltimore's a great place to have crab. I don't know if you had it that weekend, but if you ever go back to Baltimore,
Got to win the 2026 Baltimore Regional Championships.
They
to
actually
taste like a Baltimore crowd. Then
The only event I attended Baltimore. I gotta keep my champion defend. You have to defend that one.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, Maryland in general, but Baltimore specifically, like, they do crab differently than a lot of the places. Like,
Really?
I have family in Maryland and Virginia, and we went to this crab place, and obviously they're very well known for crab cakes and that stuff. But, like, you order a crab, and you don't just get, like, the legs like you would at another place, like snow crab legs. Like, they straight up throw a whole crab. He's just chilling. He's dead, but he's just chilling. And it's on you. They give you a mallet, literally, and they give you, like a baby bib and everything, and like, you want a crab? All right, you got to go to work to eat this crab. It's that's what they do in Maryland.
That sounds good. I'll have to try that next time.
It's good, but it's like you're working for your meal, you know.
I don't want to work for my meal if it's a celebratory meal. I want it to be like, I'm being like spoon fed like this delicious crab. I don't want to work for it.
You want grapes being lowered,
Yeah, if I just want a regional, I don't want to work. Already works.
Sierra, what's your celebratory? What's your go-to meal after a great cast?
I don't think that I have specifically a go-to. It's more so, especially like at an event, I would just like to be kind of like with the group to be able to kind of like debrief and chill after the day. Like, I'd love like a nice chilled drink. I would like something that's not too greasy. Maybe it's like the Canadian in me coming out, but a lot of American food is way too greasy. So a place that isn't, and you get something that's like still good, but on the lighter side. Like, I'm down for like anything that's just not like a heavy fast food, as long as I get to chill there with friends.
I think you're more into celebratory karaoke than the specific meal.
Oh my god, we're talking about stuff in Toronto. Karaoke's so good. Oh, you should. It is amazing. EUIC, we had a fantastic karaoke time. Toronto every year, amazing. It's just like, it is the best. And you do that on the Sunday after you've already casted the weekend, so it doesn't matter if you ruin your voice, because like, there's a month till the next event. Like, you're good. Oh, so much fun. So much fun.
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised by your answer, because I thought your answer was going to be, I assumed that you were forced against your will to celebrate at Raising Cane's at every event. I thought that was going to be the answer.
Well, that's Ugarte's celebratory meal, not mine. So, like, when he won Portland Regional Championships, yeah, I went to Raising Cane's with him. That was a celebratory meal. We're walking out of the venue, and he's like, we're going to Raising Cane's to celebrate. Like, who's coming with it? Like, there's just, like, people following, and we're all going to Raising Cane's. So that's his meal. I wouldn't pick that. Good time, though.
But the lines get blurred with Ugarte on Raising Cane's as a celebratory meal, because it's also just a run-of-the-mill meal for him as well. Like, he could go 0-3 drop, or he can go undefeated and win a regional. He's still going to Cane's, baby.
What is the funniest, though? Obviously, we don't have NAIC in Columbus anymore, but it was actually James Evans who won NAIC. And as a celebratory meal, we all went out to Cane's. Senior Evans, Sean Evans, paid for everyone. And then the employee there's were like, "Hey, you just won the international," and they took a picture with him and put it on the wall. So I don't know if it's still up. There's a picture of James Evans on the wall of the Raising Cane's in Columbus, and we all went back there next year, and they remembered us all, and it was awesome. But
that's awesome. I like that, because you see like diners, right? They'll have like, here's this photo, like Frank Sinatra ate here, and then like Michael Jordan ate here, and James Evans ate here.
James Evans, NAIC champion, former senior world champion, also ate here. Yeah, it was so funny. It was very wholesome.
For me, guys, I'm going to keep it simple. Anyone knows me, you should know the answer. It's Chili's. I'm celebrating. Well, Chili's is not always accessible. If Chili's is accessible, we are attending a local Chili's and getting some fajitas and having the time of our life. But it's not always in every city. So my answer is Taco Bell. I will celebrate Taco Bell I win a regional. I'm going to Taco Bell to celebrate. I wake up in the morning, I'm going to Taco Bell to celebrate. That's worth a celebration to go to Taco Bell. So that's my go-to place. Oh, you're killing me.
Probably a good call.
You're killing me. It's so good.
So nice, because they have in the area I live in, it's a very authentic Spanish community. They have a lot more like local restaurants that
actually have good food.
Yeah, actual Hispanic.
But like, do
Good
they
answer.
have Baja Blast? You know what I mean?
They got Pepsi products. Unfortunately.
Sorry. Looks like I'm not going to the local establishment and I'm hitting up Taco Bell.
Oh,
bring your own beverage.
Yeah, honestly, bring your BYOB. Bring your own Baja Blast. Oh my goodness. Well, I still have to figure out dinner plans as well, Nicholas. I know you said before the podcast you were hungry. We took an hour of your time. Let you go eat. But thank you again so much for being on the podcast. And for those who have listened in and want to know where to find you on your endeavors, where can they do that as well? Any final words from you?
You could just find me on my Twitter, which leads to my Discord. Either one of the two if you want to keep up with me.
Yeah. What is that Twitter? If you want to just say it out loud, we do have audio listeners that
I believe my Twitter handle is charmd505049. I believe that's what it is.
89, close enough.
Stalker Joe Brown.
I just have his Twitter open.
Okay, there you go. charmd5089. There you go.
Perfect. Nicholas, yet again, thank you so much. Whether it's we see you spectating at Louisville or you do actually have the time at Toronto, hopefully we'll get to see you at an event soon. But it was honestly seeing you win the Baltimore regionals. That was awesome. So congratulations yet again. Thank you. Anyone who's made it to this point of the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate it. As always, make sure to be joining the Discord to get in your questions of the week. And yeah, no clue what we'll talk about next week because Louisville is still a little bit away, but we'll find something. We appreciate you as always, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of OHKO. Have a great night, everyone.